Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Amplify Your Business. Today, I'm talking to Ryan Saunders. He is the founder and CEO of Stone Temple Coffees. Now, what we're going to be getting into is going to be a fascinating discussion around international business and actually doing business in a developing third world and all the challenges that come with that. So welcome to the show, Ryan. I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us a little bit about your experiences.
Thanks, Lance. It's great to be here today.
So I wanted to start with, I guess, just getting a bit of an understanding as to your entrepreneurial journey. What has brought you to this point today? And maybe start with some of the things that you were doing down in Honduras with cashew wine, of all things, which is just a completely foreign concept to me. So walk us through what you were doing down there and how that all started and where you ended up now.
Sure. So just to go over things a little bit again, I'm from originally from southeastern Ontario, and I had decided to pursue a professional diving career in 2011, and that put me around the Caribbean, Grand Cayman, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, and then eventually in Roatan, Honduras for 5 years. And in that process, I decided to branch off and start a business. So I did have a business partner at the time, and we decided to develop a holding company in, I believe it was 2012. And with the development of that, we had a lot of things on the table. And one of them was we took an interest in cashew wine. And I know a lot of people are thinking, how do you make wine from cashew nuts, right? Well, you don't.
Yeah.
For every cashew nut that you eat, what comes off of that is what's known as a cashew apple. It's very small, like a crab apple. It's very, very soft and mushy. So cashew wine's fairly popular in Belize, and we had decided the Roatan, Honduras needed to have a little more grassroots movement. And I had teamed up as a scuba diving instructor. I had teamed up with a Honduran chemical engineer who was actually making cashew wine passionately as a side project. And he didn't have the marketing capabilities to market this. So that was something in my background that I knew how to do. So we took a year to develop a line of cashew wine that we released as a dry, a semi-dry, and a sweet. And that's what kicked off our distribution company. So I had distributed this wine to restaurants, bars, hotels, duty frees, and eventually ended up flooding the market with it. And that's when we decided to start to expand our portfolio. So we branched out into other fruit wines released under Stone Temple. So we were Stone Temple Wines before we were Stone Temple Coffees. And then we had a line of artisan soaps. And then eventually we began to develop Stone Temple Coffees. Came in about 2014. And we had decided to take the 6 growing regions in Honduras and create a roast profile from each growing region to add to our portfolio. And that kind of helped build our portfolio so that we had a full-on portfolio to take around Roatan, Honduras.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. I mean, what an adventure that is. And yeah, I think probably everybody I would venture to guess on this podcast right now who are listening probably never even thought of cashew as having a fruit to it. So yeah, you learn something new every day. So now in that, I guess, experience, you're down there, you decide to start this business with your partner, and you start to, venture into the wine business. And then obviously you grew beyond that. The learnings that you must have had in trying to do business in a third world country must be as vast as the product potentials that you guys had down there. So tell me about that experience. So it just seems so intimidating to me to think about trying to do business in a country like that. So walk me through what was going on there and some lessons you learned.
Right. Right. And so we'll get right into brass tacks here, and we'll just talk about how to develop
Perfect.
a company down there. So
Yeah.
one of the things, is the paperwork. And I think if you're on your toes in Canada or even the USA, you can have a company together in 3-4 days tops, on a good given day, a week to 2 weeks. And you've got a company together. In Honduras, it can take up to 3 months to put a company together.
Wow.
So it involves, having to go into a bank, open a bank account up, documents signed left, right, and center, everything from having a certified accountant, bribery, the World Bank talks about it. It's right in, if you're going to open a business in a third world country, bribery is a part of the deal, so as far as getting municipal permits or anything done, in a timely manner, it costs extra,
So
and it blew my mind to read this, and where does, the rankings to open up business. I think there's, what is there, 100 and some odd countries in the world. I think Honduras at the time ranked, 89th to do business in, for level of difficulty.
so
Here I
talk to
am.
me.
I'm 29 years old. I'm 29 years old, going on 30, all getting ready to open my first business up, and here I am in Honduras trying to do this.
Yeah.
So I had some friends. I had some other people that had businesses going, take me into the bank and take me to the municipal and, walk me through things.
Yeah.
Just to get the paperwork in order, and then, have to wait on the paperwork. So
So
yeah,
I'm
it
curious
was very
about
lengthy.
Yeah, I'm curious about the bribery. So one of the things, I hear this all the time in second world and third world countries, just you have to grease the wheels. It's just an expectation. There's no way that you can get around it. But what always puzzled me about that is, okay, well, how do you determine what is actually the right amount to be paying when you're having to bribe somebody? So it's not like they have a list of bribery charges, do they?
So good question. There's, put it this way, there's a standard rate of bribery for these scenarios. So it really depends, how it's interesting to see how they get away with it. It's a very crafty scenario down there. And, it's a matter of, where do you want your paperwork to sit? Do you want it at the top of the pile, or do you want it at the bottom of the pile for 3 months? So
Yeah.
you can get something you can get something done in a week, you can get something done in 3 months, you can get something done in 6 months. So it's all based on priority. So basically, $25 goes a long way down there. That's 2 days worth of wages to us. So $25 to $100 can get you through the process, depending on who you're talking to and what stage you're at.
It's illegal though.
Had to be signed by a lawyer. Sorry.
Just to be clear, it is illegal though down there, right? So then, is it like just kind of like you're saying it out of the side of your mouth, or is this something where it's really in the open?
No, it's in the open. I mean, it's not. Who would you take it to? The police? I mean, you can buy your way. You can buy your way through a speeding ticket for $25 down there. The corruption's that hard. Everybody's just trying to eat. So there's no one to take it to. You want to take it higher up, you're going to pay more money. It's not. I want to say I don't want to say sideways, but it's really hard down there. It's very hard. It's hard for everybody, and at the end of the day, everybody just wants a slice of the pie. So
Gotcha. So okay, so you get your paperwork all filled out. Then what happens? What's the next steps then?
Next steps, once your paperwork's in order, you have to have a legitimate licensed accountant. So that takes place as well. And then, you're submitting monthly, invoicing, and your invoicing's very customized, and it's very old school. I can't just fire up QuickBooks and use QuickBooks down there. It has to be, the invoicing has to be all set and legitimized and stamped and certified. So there's a lot of old school things that happen. One of the things, we had to get was a company stamp, like an embossment stamp.
Yeah.
So any legal work or anything that, it's still the same as here. You still have to go through all that legitimizing process whenever you're trying to do, because they want to track as much out of you as they can. And the taxes are high. I think we were dealing with like a 25% tax rate. So, we looked, to make sure that we had the write-offs to be able to play the game.
Yeah. So you definitely want all of that part of it above board for sure then. So that's the corporate tax rate, 25%. What's the personal tax rate down there then?
Geez, I believe it was at 15% when I was there.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
So they do a lot more of their tax collection than from the corporate side of the ledger versus the personal, it sounds like.
That's right. One of the big issues there is they don't have a civic system in place. So
yeah,
you can it's easy for some people to hide.
Yeah. So
very easy.
So then in terms of like operating the business down there, how did that go? Was that pretty complicated, or once you got
No, it was fairly straightforward in regards to operation, but one of the things, especially on the islands, it's controlled by tourism. So you have a high season and a low season. So we were in scenarios where I would provide, we'll say, one of the largest supermarkets there. I'd provide them with $5,000 worth of product. Well, high season, I might be 45 days out before I get paid. And in slow season, it might be, it was 90 days. It would take 3 months to get paid. So I mean, and this was a practice seen through, several different, whether it was a duty free or a supermarket. There were certain scenarios where the larger they were, the more they could muscle the small vendors around.
Yeah.
And that made it difficult. That made it really difficult for us to operate, because having that money tied up for so long, it played a role in us not being able to turn around and purchase more product. So in the end, that's what, it was one of the reasons for us to shut the operation down.
Yeah, in terms of like just the day-to-day operations of it, the employee side of things, any challenges there or any uniqueness there that is just kind of like a head scratcher, or this is just really odd compared to what we're used to here in Canada?
Right. So again, employees it was a hard thing to deal with too. I would come home and and try and vacation, and things would go missing, or a company vehicle would somehow magically break down, and those other back issues that operating not just third world, but operating on an island. We were posed with vehicle breakdowns we couldn't get parts for, that would take 3 months to get parts. So things would be sitting, that would be an issue. Products going missing. So there were certain aspects of it that we just, you have to be there. You have to always, be in control. I think trying to hand anything over, or give responsibility was a very difficult thing to do down there.
Yeah. So what would you say was one of the, the biggest challenges that you had? You've talked about a few different things here. I don't know if there's something else that was bigger, but what was it and how did you overcome it, I guess?
I think one of the biggest challenges, and I mean, we still see it here, is just market introductory. Okay. Again, with the Cashew wine in the beginning, what we had was a great niche product. So nobody had it, which made it really, really interesting. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword, because you have to educate your people as to what your product is. If your product's going to sit on a shelf, for instance, Cashew wine, some people are going to say, okay, let's try that. And other people are just, they're going to go with what they know. So the big one is product education. So I would say, anybody that's bringing a new product into market that's a niche product, you're gonna have to educate your consumer with marketing materials, and that was a big one for us. So we had those extra marketing materials brought in, and we had to explain to the retailers, say, look, this is a new product, not for everybody. So we did have to do some education and put some PowerPoints up and so forth with product displays and whatnot to show reasons to purchase the product.
Were you focused mostly on just the domestic sales then, or did you export as well from Honduras?
No, we strictly focused on domestic sales. We did dabble a little bit into the mainland, but mostly just focused on Roatan as a whole.
Okay.
And one of the things we did, we considered, we looked at some export scenarios. It's not something that we ever got to.
Okay. And so now you're selling coffee, and so is the coffee as well growing in Honduras then?
Yeah, so we do source coffee from Marcala, Honduras, and it's excellent coffee. We've branded that as our house roast. My wife, I ended up actually marrying a Honduran. My wife's Honduran. We've got a little 2.5-year-old boy.
Oh, nice.
And her uncle actually is tied back in. He has a beautiful plantation in Cominagua, Honduras, which is the largest region for exporting and growing coffee in Honduras out of the 6 regions there. So now we source coffee from all over. So we're Ethiopia, Mexico, Indonesia, Peru, and we do some blending and so forth. And so now our sales, we're on Walmart.ca. We're on Amazon. We've done some exporting, and we've worked with FSBP agents for the US side of things. So we've sold on Amazon.com. We've recently onboarded with Gordon's Food Services Canada, and we're set to do trade shows under their housing in October.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So it sounds like lots of growth. So what kind of lessons, I guess, did you learn from the previous ventures like the wine and so on that has really helped you out now then with the coffees?
I think, I've from having a business in Honduras versus Canada, one of the things I've had to relearn a lot. It's funny, I was gone away for 7 years. I was living in another world for 7 years, and I'm glad to be back in Canada. No regrets with what I've done, and I have learned a lot, but I've had to relearn coming home. Just because the markets are different here. They're not structured the same. They don't operate the same. We don't carry some of the same values that they have in Honduras, and even though we were catering to tourists and so forth as well. Just the market structure here's different, and we're as coffee is the second most traded commodity in the world next to crude oil. We're in a very tough competitive market.
Yeah.
So one of the things we wanted to stay dynamic and stay original with our branding, and have our foot strong down on that. I think supply chain and logistics, I think's a huge difference here, the way everything's handled. So in order to play the game, we've had to look at you know, how supermarkets function in Canada, and kind of grasp, what's going on behind the scenes. So
Hmm.
just to tackle that.
Yeah. And so are you bringing in the unroasted beans, or are they already roasted and then you're grinding them here, or what is the product, development
So
cycle?
so we have a certified fair trade organic processing facility, and we work with a couple other companies who handle the roasting. We bring everything in bulk, so we package, process, grind, and blend all our coffee.
Okay.
And we're just in the process of developing a new roasting facility for us for next year. As we've gotten the market introductories that we're looking for. So we've handled the sourcing. We source from Montreal. We have all that. We pick and choose what we want. We've taken a long time to choose our roast profiles and develop our product.
Yeah.
So we've outsourced the roasting until we, and put more money and more focus into marketing, which we felt needed to be done because of the competition out there.
Yeah.
We want to see that we've got the proper foothold that we need in order to bring in the proper facility to handle what we want. So it's a large investment. We're almost 100K in now.
Yeah.
With what we've got going on, and we want to put another 100K into it. So we're set. We do have a pre-approval for crowdsourcing, and in order to franchise the business. We're just developing a cafe off of our processing facility now, and then we pay a lot of money to work with the OCIA, which is the National Organic Association.
Yeah.
To maintain both our USDA and our Canadian organic regime organic certifications.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say would be the key then that you've experienced in getting that market penetration in a market that is so congested with other brands?
A good question, and whether it's coffee or donuts or whatever. I think one of the biggest things is you can't rush product into market. It happens when it happens, and you can push and you can jump and you can scream and you can do all these things, and it's not going to make anything move any faster. One of the things that we found, and just to use Amazon for an example, because we're up against a lot of other brands, almost every other brand in the market, so we now, we've established daily sales, and what that's taken, it's taken money in advertising. It's taken money with consultants that know how to operate Amazon. And it's taken, it takes goodwill of the people, and that takes time. It takes reviews.
Yeah.
So we have to, in a sense, you have to buy goodwill to start. You have to spend money on marketing and get people trying your product, and eventually backing your product. What does everybody do? They rush to Amazon to read reviews for anything that they want to know about. So first and foremost, you have to buy the will of the people.
Yeah. It's all about word of mouth nowadays, and social acceptance, right? And so definitely proof through reviews and ratings, and that all really pay off in your category for sure. So what are the next steps? So for Stone Temple, is it new markets? Is it just growing your existing markets? Or?
Right. So that's a very good question. So originally, we had started in 2017, and the bread and butter, you always have to take the lowest hanging fruit in a business.
Yeah.
And what works for the business, where's the money at, and follow the money. When we first started, we had we said, okay, we got to introduce this to the market. So I put good money into a 10 by 10 event tent, and we started doing farmers markets, as a starting point. And we got having fun with it. And then we got making money, and we were doing very, very well. We were, books up for events left, right, and center. And we were small. I was operating out of my house at the time, putting everything together. And then COVID hit, the pandemic came. So what do we stopped. We had to really scratch our head what to do. So we put all our eggs, I don't say all our eggs into one basket, but we put majority of them in, and that was we decided to hit Amazon really hard. So we hit Amazon hard, and then we also decided, like, let's try and open up the American market with our product, because I said we can't, the grocery stores have stopped taking on new product. Nobody knows what to do. There was no, there's no protocol into place.
Yeah.
So we brought an FSVP agent on board. I brought a buddy of mine from South Carolina, and we shipped him, I think, $10,000 worth of product to put in a warehouse to start to push into, slowly trickle into the market where we could get it in, and ship into Amazon. While we waited through the pandemic, and as we did that, as things started to move a little more forward, and we got sales, more or less, on the rise. We put in last year, we put in a 15 by 30 foot processing facility. And now the cafe out of it is to help us grow, our square roots, to get, for customers to come in and get to know us and get to buy the product direct. We're in a big tourist town. We're close to the provincial sandbank. So, we've got a large following, and it's, it's growing. So we figured that would be, the next phase of it. And, when we originally developed the product, we developed it from an ability to market it, as far as, t-shirts or franchising or so forth. So we're considering those options on the table. We just, of course, want to see what the economy is doing and post-pandemic, and just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm curious, as an entrepreneur, we're all looking for success, right? We want to have a successful business. In your eyes, or your mind, how do you define success for you?
Yeah, I think success. I think as soon as anybody hears that, success is $1 million in the bank, and nobody's going to argue that with you. But I think success, in order to be successful, you have to be driven. You have to be driven to have success come to you. It's not going to happen overnight. You've got to work for success. And I think finding those smaller things, whether it's a compliments, or a 5-star review on Amazon, I think those things, when you connect directly with people, and people go out of their way to tell you, this is a great product, I love it, I've come here for you, I've come here for this product. I think that's success, in the raw.
Yeah. So when do you know when it's time to stop, I guess, as an entrepreneur?
I think one of the things is you need to know how to, we say stop, you need to know how to pause. You can't do it all at once. I think you have to set yourself up, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, knowing that there's going to be a pile of failure in the process. So, you've got to, there's a plan B that always has to, take place. The biggest thing is not to bite off more than you can chew. And sometimes that's hard, because success takes risk, and you've got to weigh your risk, and you've got to find the right stepping stones to do it. You can't just walk into $100,000 deal. You need a $25,000 deal, then you need a $50,000 deal, and then you do a $100,000 deal. So it's finding those, finding that right deal, and taking those smaller steps, so that you don't need to stop.
Yeah.
But you do, you do need to have a secondary plan. I'm a carpenter, by heart. Originally, I took a Bachelor of Arts in psychology at Ottawa U, but I After that, I went back into carpentry, and it's something I'm very passionate about. So there's still a couple days out of the week that I will pick up a hammer, and go and freelance and work for some guys that I've worked with for a long time, if I decide that I need to put some extra money in my pocket. So when fall or winter hits, I've got those extra days that I can fall back on if I need it.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. I don't think as an entrepreneur you need to stop. You need to be able to adapt. You need to know how to adapt, and you need to know, what stepping stone to take. And that can be very difficult, especially if you don't have a mentor. And I think that's it can be difficult. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, our newly minted entrepreneurs don't necessarily know where to turn, or they know where to turn, and there's too much information in their face. And that's, one of the things with today's world is, everybody wants a piece. Everybody wants to service your business.
Yeah.
I think new entrepreneurs coming in with something don't realize, look, you're gonna set your website up, and you're not gonna have 100 buyers at your door. You're gonna have 300 marketers asking you if they can, if you need any more web development.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think they just, you've got to be ready. Everybody wants a piece of your pie. So.
Yeah. Well, let's not pick on the marketers too hard, but yeah, when it comes to your mentor though, so how did you go about finding a mentor?
I don't think I ever officially found a mentor. I've worked with, people, and the people that I've liked working with that have knowledge again. So back to the marketers, I'll give some marketers some praise. I have worked with marketers where, I like what they're doing, and I'll say, okay, how are they doing this? What's going on? And can I do any of it? Is there any? So there were certain things, I think I would, the extra things that I found that I could do and not have to pay for, I would do. So I kind of operated that way, and it was hard too, because we were operating, 2 years through the pandemic. Yeah. So again, you'd have to get crafty, and a lot of people say to me, Ryan, you're a problem solver, and that was the big thing. This is a problem. How do we solve it? So I became good at that, especially in a third world country where there's, 10 times the amount of problems, in a day. So we, it was a walk in the park coming home to Canada and opening up a business.
Yeah. You sort of honed a superpower down there in a lot of respects.
I did. And, the joke one of my good friends says to me, he says, yeah, you didn't win down there. He says, but look what he says, you might as well say you've paid for your degree in business. Yeah. I said, yeah, I believe I paid for that.
Well, thanks so much, Ryan. I really appreciate you being so, upfront and forthright with all of your experiences, internationally, but then also what's going on here at home as well. So if people wanted to reach out and connect with you and maybe try some of the coffee, what's the best way for them to do so?
Definitely. They can find me at www.stonetemplecoffees.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So if any of the entrepreneurs want to jump over, hit me up on LinkedIn under Ryan Saunders. You can find me there. And I'm definitely here to help out anybody that needs extra help, especially from a mentor standpoint. So yeah, anybody out there listening that has some questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me.
That's a generous offer. Thank you so much, Ryan. And for those of you who are listening and watching this podcast right now, if you're interested in checking out the archives, head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. You're going to find them all there, as well as all of our future episodes. And if you happen to be an entrepreneur that has an interesting story that you want to share as well, there's an application form there so that you can be a future guest potentially on Amplify Your Business. And we're also available everywhere that you can download or listen to podcasts. So just search Amplify Your Business at any of your favorite podcasting platforms as well. So until the next one, everybody have a prosperous day.